Welcome back to the What the Hype water cooler. Today we're recapping the biggest news to come out of D23, which for anyone who doesn't know is like the ultimate super fan Disney fan club event, where they make all kinds of announcements about projects that are in the pipeline and also share some first looks at all of that stuff. It's really, really exciting for anyone who is super into Disney. And that definitely includes several members of the What the Hype panel. I do have Pam here in the studio with me today. Hey, Pam. Thank you for
Hey,
joining.
Laura. Of course. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Just D23 only comes around a few times a year, and you can tell that they really kind of saved the big stuff for this convention of theirs, which is insane because, it is coming off of Comic-Con. It always does come off Comic-Con. So I think that anybody that's following Comic-Con news as well and is a fan of any of the Disney properties is always like, okay, well, like this came out of Comic-Con, but what else do they have they're saving for D23? So
Yeah, 100%. And I think we can agree that between Comic-Con and now D23, we have some pretty good inspiration for the next year of our editorial calendar and
oh
like
yeah.
when we're going to be
Yeah.
covering
I
things.
haven't even touched it, but there's so much that needs to be filled in just based on D23 alone. So
Yeah, great minds think alike because I was sitting down right before this and I was like, holy crap, we got to get the editorial calendar together.
yep.
But before we get into covering all the things that stuck out to us about D23, just wanted to give y'all a reminder. Please be sure that you're subscribed to our channel here on YouTube. And don't forget to give this video a like and even throw us a comment. Even though we have been podcasting for 20 years, we are new to YouTube and we're really trying to grow our audience over here. So it's a huge help to us if you like, subscribe, and sound off in the comments about what D23 announcements you're most jazzed about. So, with that said, we can go ahead and jump in. And selfishly, I kind of want to start with Marvel. That's
Let's do
like
it. Let's do
that
it.
that's honestly where most of my interest comes from. Not to say that there isn't some
Yeah.
other great stuff here, because certainly there are other Disney originals and sequels coming. There's some Pixar stuff, there's Star Wars, so there's a good bit to get into. But
Yeah.
I think for when it comes to Marvel, it was nice to see a little more love continuing to be given to Captain America Brave New World as well as Fantastic Four First Steps. These both got a lot of attention at Comic-Con, but it was nice to see again that they're continuing to share footage from that, as well as remind folks like how really around the corner these things are. Captain America is coming in February. It's actually coming out on Valentine's Day. So, nice
Which
little
kind of,
romantic
I think that
date.
kind of tracks for the Cap movies, though. I feel like they've
Yeah.
always kind of, like the first few were in the spring, I think
Yeah.
like February, March. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then Fantastic Four is coming in July of 2025. So we have a little under a year before we get that. So we definitely got to see like a little teaser video from the cast. They're currently filming in England right now, so they weren't able to come to D23. But it looks really, really cool. I think, especially thinking about everything that we saw about Fantastic Four at Comic Con, they didn't have to really tell us too much more that we didn't already know here. But again, it
Yeah.
got some love, which was nice.
Yeah. When they first announced Fantastic Four, before they announced the cast, I was not really enthused because this is like this will be the third time they try and
Yeah.
make Fantastic Four happen. And it's not that the other Fantastic Four movies were necessarily bad for the times in which they were released, but it also just kind of feels like, well, damn Disney, or well, now Disney, I guess you should say damn Marvel. Like, if it didn't work the first two times, then why are you trying again? But I think they might actually hit it out of the ballpark this time because the cast is fantastic. I kind of am really into this retro vibe they've been pushing since they kind of started showing us little glimpses as to what we can expect from this iteration. And lucky for them, I feel like the retro vibe works because now we're in the multiverse where anything can happen. It also kind of feels like it falls in line with, like the WandaVision season one retro
Mm-hmm.
vibe that we got. Like, obviously, that was like for a different reason, but it feels like the look fits with this weird new phase of Marvel that we're in. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah. It's like retro futurist. It's like the Jetsons,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
like works, right? And it kind of, I know I'm the first person to say this. I've seen other people have this opinion, but it definitely gives like 1960s NASA vibes. If you look at like
Yeah.
the advertisements they put out at the time, or if you even look at like the golden era of air travel in general, like think about like TWA and that whole vibe. It definitely fits in squarely with that. I agree, and it works. I think it works, and it's
Yeah.
nice that we're not getting like another origin story as well.
Yeah.
I think that helps.
Yeah. And there's like a lot of room to kind of really dig deep on the characters for this franchise specifically because they're so interesting. Like I have like vivid memories of going to see the first live action Fantastic Four in theaters. And, it was like really great. They leaned into like the angst factor for the Thing, for example. Like they all kind of fit these different archetypes. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this time around and if they kind of feed into similar character arcs and character developments or if they just completely like rehash it. And I kind of hope that they just like tossed everything out the window and started from scratch because obviously you need to hit some story beats, but I think that Marvel works best when they're not beholden to the comics too much. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think that like the two things can exist separately, and
I
sometimes they
agree.
should.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think when you look at the Marvel movies that have done the best in recent history, hint, hint, Deadpool and Wolverine,
Yeah,
you can definitely see that it's possible for them to strongly like adhere to the spirit of the comics and the source material without necessarily making it like a page by page translation to the screen. Like you have to adapt it for the medium that it's going to be in and also for like the time period that you're replacing it in or that you're releasing it in. Like I feel like sometimes especially superhero movies that came out in like the early 2000s, they have a certain feel to them
yeah,
now
they
that
were
makes
very
them,
like self-righteous.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost kind of
100%.
hokey too in the sense of like the
Mm-hmm.
like it just even in with the costuming alone, having it be completely like ripped from the page, which is great, but it also has been nice like since you know, Feige and the Russos kind of took over to see how they've updated costumes. So they don't necessarily have to be like this, like really like color blocked, true blue, true reds.
Yeah, 100%. They struck a really nice balance of being able to like pull the costumes from the comics and updating them for the screen, to your point, which is a really big shift from what used to happen in comic book movies. I know a really common example of that is like the X-Men movies from the early 2000s where like nobody was wearing anything comic book accurate because it was deemed like too silly looking. But then kind of
Yeah.
finding a way to update those costumes in a way that makes them feel like real and kind of uh, having some level of stature and not feeling too cartoony. So I agree with you there. Um, but back to D23, EP Ryan Coogler joined Kevin Feige to tease some upcoming Disney Plus series. So one of those is Ironheart, which takes place after Black Panther Wakanda Forever and centers on Riri Williams. That's actually coming September 3rd of 2025. And then Daredevil Born Again, which is hotly anticipated, the fourth season of Daredevil. This show started out on Netflix. It is on Disney Plus now, which is kind of crazy to see because it does not feel like a show that you would see on Disney Plus. But hey, like Disney just released its first R-rated film, so why not? But everybody's really excited for this one because they got the original cast back, and it's coming really, really soon again in March of next year. So we don't even have a full year that we have to wait for it.
Yeah, to your point, this is something that I don't think anyone ever thought that we would get. I still remember the day that Disney, it was on a Friday, very close to end of day, so about 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, West Coast time, that they started canceling all of these Marvel television shows on Netflix one by one by one. It got to the point where, like, after they canceled two, or I think maybe three, I was like, I should just start writing up stories for the other properties because they're going
Yeah.
to cancel them all within the span of like 2 hours. And lo and behold, they did. And they tried to bury it on a Friday afternoon. It was crazy. Like, it was a crazy news day from, like just a news perspective. But it's really, really cool, to your point, that they were able to get the original cast back for this. I know everybody's excited about Charlie Cox coming back, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
he made a cameo in the last Spider-Man movie, which was fantastic. It was great to see him
Yeah.
there.
He
And
was in She-Hulk
uh,
too.
yeah, and they've been teasing a lot of these characters, specifically from the Daredevil universe for the past few years. So it's great to see that this is something that we're finally going to get.
Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio is another
Yes, that was the other
standout
one.
from that cast
Yeah.
because he made an appearance in Hawkeye as well on Disney
Yeah,
Plus.
that was
So
really well kept under wraps too. So it was
it
really crazy to
was.
see him pop up right at the end there.
And man, I gotta tell you, when Disney and Marvel are on their timing, they are on their timing
Mm-hmm.
because the episode of Hawkeye where it was revealed that Kingpin was in this universe dropped the night before Spider-Man No Way Home premiered, which
That's
was when you
right.
got the Charlie Cox cameo.
Yes.
So that was so cool because I
The stars
remember,
aligned.
yeah, we sat there, we watched it, we were like, holy hell, like Daredevil is absolutely going to be in Spider-Man. There's no way that we're not going to see him in there. So when they line things up like that, it's just magic. And I hope we get to see more of it.
I
Um,
know. I want to be excited about Marvel again. I
yeah,
think
me
that, like, a
too.
lot of people, have been suffering from Marvel fatigue. It's getting really hard to buy into all of these things that you need to watch. I honestly, I didn't even finish the last season that came out of Loki, and I was super excited for that when the first season ended.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really hope that some of these are worthy of, like, the hype that we're feeling now, but remains to be seen.
Yeah. Another one that I'm really excited about is Agatha All Along. Of course, we already knew we were getting
Yes.
this,
I saw this
but
trailer and I was like, this is Laura.
yep,
This is up Laura's
100%.
alley. It's like the horror core.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a haunted maze, but not.
Yeah, it's like witchy fall vibes. Sign me up. I'm right there as soon as it comes out. That is coming just next month. So we'll have that on September 18th, and they'll be doing weekly episode drops after that. But I'm so excited for this. The titular character, Agatha Harkness, is, of course, from WandaVision, and this series basically picks up after the events of WandaVision, and you get to see what it is that Agatha has to do to get her powers back because Wanda took them away. So I'm really, really excited for this. It stars Catherine Hahn, which I adore her. She's just like perfect in everything she does. But also, the cast of Agatha All Along did show up to perform an original song from the show, and they revealed a new trailer. So I don't know if you got to see the new trailer, Pam.
The one that looks like it's a musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. No, it looks so good. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for honestly all of the above here, in terms of like Marvel Studios and Disney Plus releases of live action. There was also some Marvel animation updates. So we got some sneak peeks of some upcoming shows like What If Season 3, X-Men 97. We did learn that What If Season 3 is going to be the final season of What If, but that it's going to be introducing Shang-Chi, Ironheart, Moon Knight, and White Vision to the What If universe, which is kind of cool because the first couple of seasons really focused pretty heavily on the core group of Avengers. So, like Cap, Iron Man, um, Peggy Carter was, of course, part of that for a good bit. Why am I blanking on names right now? Black Widow, of course, and Hulk, and really a lot of the core characters. So it's going to be nice to see some of the newer characters get introduced to this third season, and I'm interested to see where they're going to take it. Because I don't know if you saw any of the What If stuff,
Yeah,
Pam.
this was a show that I watched sparsely and sporadically whenever a premise kind of intrigued me, which is kind of cool because usually you can't do that with the Marvel properties, but because these episodes kind of exist in the confines of the runtime, you kind of can bounce around if you want to for the most part. So,
Yeah, that's what's really cool about it is it's basically like a sandbox where you can play around and just be like, what if this happened? Like, I mean, the premise of the first episode is what if Peggy Carter had taken the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? It's a lot of things like that. So you really get to kind of like play around in a safe little sandbox without it impacting the rest of the universe. But what's cool about it is all the episodes are connected. So if you want to watch them in order, there is a larger story that is built up, but you also don't have to. Like the episodes themselves are very self contained in that way. So you can enjoy them. Like you said, Pam, out of order as one offs, whatever you want. I'm super excited about X-Men 97 season 2 because season 1 was so good. Honestly, I'm so glad that Marvel chose to focus on two things this year. They focused on X-Men 97 and Deadpool and Wolverine, and that's it. They didn't release anything else, and I think Marvel is better for it. It does seem like going into 2025 and 2026, they're going to be releasing across multiple properties again. So, like, hopefully they have their shit together this time because the last
yeah.
time they were trying to do way too much.
Yeah, maybe they actually kind of ended up benefiting from the writer's strike in a weird sort of way because it did force them to rearrange their release slate, and that's why it's been sparse in part. So,
Yeah. I think Kevin Feige also came in and cleaned house, to be
as he
totally
should have,
honest.
because it was getting to
Yeah.
be too much, and it was getting tough there.
It was like too many cooks in the kitchen, honestly.
Mhm.
And like nobody was talking to each other. That was the other thing. So,
Yeah.
like, you would have writers on one project who didn't know what was happening on another project, even though they kind of like intersected.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and there's still some like definitely they still have some loose ends as a result of that. A byproduct of that is that there's still a lot of loose ends that they haven't even touched again. I was kind of starting to wonder when even like the Loki stuff was going to matter at all because I really thought that it was going to be like Loki season 1 was going to be like necessary viewing for like the Doctor Strange movie that came out after, and it really wasn't. And then you had
no.
the Eternals that ended with all these Titans coming back, and we haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot that hasn't been tied up, and I guess it remains to be seen as to whether or not it ever will. But I think like if the last year of Marvel has taught me anything, it's that they're very well aware of like what they left on the back burner because we are slowly starting to see some things pop up again.
Yeah, and like I'm pretty sure that we'll get some connectivity to the Eternals in the next Captain America movie because in the trailer, Ross does mention one of the Titans that's like emerging from the ocean, and apparently that's where they're going to get adamantium from. So there's going to be like
Okay, got it.
a global race to get the adamantium and claim it.
Hmm.
So I think
I
that's where they're
like
going to
it.
pull that in. But yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I think that they just tried to greenlight too many things and tell too many stories and not think about the way that all of it went together, which again is like the magic of a connected universe like this, and feels like they kind of lost it there for a while, but hopefully they're learning. um, just to get us through the rest of Marvel here so that I don't monopolize all of our discussion on Marvel. So we also are going to get Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies. We don't know when those are coming yet. Marvel Zombies, I'm excited for because that's going to be a TVMA limited series of 4 episodes. So again, Disney getting a little spicy with the ratings.
Guess Deadpool was their entry level, like dipping their toes in, which
Hey,
was more like a cannonball
Deadpool.
into the deep end, honestly. But
Yeah, I mean, listen, Deadpool just surpassed $1 billion at the box office, so I think Disney has their answer about what they need to do.
that's true.
And then we're also getting Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is anticipated this November. So looking forward to that. Um, Getting into some of the Disney movies, there's a lot of sequels happening. So we've got we have a new Moana 2 trailer. I'm super excited because I loved Moana 1. I will say the timing feels like weird to me because they're also working on a
Yeah.
live action Moana.
I know. It's like it's almost like too much Moana at once. And the sequel too, they were like quietly working on it. And I feel like they announced it less than a year before it was going to drop. I want to
Mm-hmm.
say like this, it's like a newer announcement, and it's
Yeah, I
crazy that it like
agree.
they announced it so close to when it's ready. So I think it'll do well. I don't think Lin Manuel Miranda is coming back to do the music, if I remember
Oh,
correctly,
really?
but I don't believe he is. But they did perform a song at D23, and that sounded great. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if people, and I love Lin Manuel, but I'm wondering if people are starting to get Lin Manuel fatigue
mm.
in
Well,
all of these
yeah.
like children's musicals.
And not to jump too ahead, he did do the music for Mufasa, which I know
Yeah.
that you have somewhere down here on the dock, which was also the trailer was also dropped for that at
Yeah.
D23.
You know
So
what? Actually, I'm glad you mentioned it because I don't
oh,
have
okay.
it
Well, that's
on
another
there.
sequel. We can file that under this Disney
Yeah,
pillar
for
that we
sure.
have. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is the sequel to the Lion King live action. It's a Mufasa origin story.
Yeah. What did
The
you think about this, Pam? Because I had some thoughts when I saw the trailer.
I I'm so unenthused by this, but also I feel like I was expecting way more from the Lion King live action. Is only because the Jungle Book live action was actually really good. Like it
It
had
was
no
so
business being
good.
as good as it was. And so I was really excited for the Lion King, especially because they packed this cast and it just fell so flat. So as much as I love Barry Jenkins as a director, it's very clear he has like, a good story in place. I just can't bring myself to be super excited for this. So I'll probably wait until it comes out on Disney Plus to watch it, honestly, unless it gets
Yeah.
insanely good reviews.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel the same way. I also felt a certain kind of way about the story that's being proposed. Like, as far as I know, this idea of Mufasa himself being an orphan who was adopted by Scar's family and then usurps Scar from the throne, that was new information to me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, what? So like now we're getting the Scar like villain origin story. And don't get me wrong, I love a good villain origin story, but sometimes I don't know, I feel like the villain can just be the villain. I don't know if we need all of that, but
I
maybe I just
agree.
have to reserve judgment until the time comes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I don't understand why every villain needs a redemption. Some baddies can just be baddies, you know. And I feel like 90s kids will know Lion King 2, the animated sequel, actually very good. And Scar's son, illegitimate son, redeems his family line and he ends up being good. So like I feel like that's enough for me. I don't need like, you know, to know what turns Scar bad.
Yeah, agreed. Well, something else that I don't know that we needed, and maybe this is sacrilege for James Cameron fans, but we're getting Avatar 3, and we got the Avatar 3 title reveal. It's going to be called Fire and Ash. So that's coming out actually on my birthday next year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Lucky
I know.
you.
Actually, there must be something about James Cameron and my birthday because Titanic was also released on my birthday.
Okay. We got to give
So,
him that one. We're Titanic girlies,
yeah,
so
that's
that
true.
truly
That's
was a
true.
gift. But Avatar, not so much for us.
Yeah, sound off about Avatar, Pam.
My biggest issue with like this, well, first of all, I don't think we needed all of these sequels. There's like five, I think, in the works, right? Aren't there?
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't know if you're an I don't know if you're a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, or if
Yeah.
you've ever watched it. Like, so it just feels like he's taking the general plot of that loosely, and then just like superimposing it in a weird way onto his Avatar series. Like this
Yeah.
whole thing about them having to master all the elements. It's like I think I've seen this film before, James Cameron.
Yeah,
But
for
also,
sure.
you could say the same about the original Avatar, which is basically just Pocahontas in space. They're in space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Pocahontas in
so funny you
space.
say that because I think that's such an apt comparison. I also always thought of it as like Space Fern Gully.
Oh, yes, yes. If
Like,
Ferngully and Pocahontas had a baby, it would be
yeah.
James Cameron's Avatar franchise.
Yeah. So yeah, that happened. I don't know that I'll be honest with you, I haven't even seen Avatar 2.
I saw it. It's like listen, visually stunning. I don't think
Of
anybody can take
course.
that away. But like I just it's honestly, and also it's too long. I think the pacing kind of suffers because he's one of these directors that just is like incapable of making a short movie.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing too. But worth it to, I don't know, you're home one day, just relaxing,
Yeah, for
pop
sure.
it
The
on.
visuals.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing the first one in theaters and the
Yeah.
visuals were stunning. I
Worth
was
it to
like,
see on
okay.
like that's the only reason honestly we went to the biggest screen we could find is because we knew the visuals were going to be good. But yeah, overall,
Yeah.
this is just not the franchise for me, and that's okay. If you're an Avatar fan, good for you. I really hope you're excited and you haven't been
Yeah,
let
you can
down.
like flame us in the
Yeah,
comments if you love
exactly.
Avatar. um Moving on to other sequels, we're getting a Zootopia 2. I liked Zootopia 1, so I'm
Me
interested to
too.
see where they take this. I don't know that we know when we're getting it, but it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Um
from what I remember, they're like feeding in again to like animal stereotypes like they did with the first one. I think you're right. The first one was very well done. It was super fun. So
Yeah. No, I thought
yeah,
that it did a really good job. Just like we talk about a lot of Disney movies do a good job of this, like tackling more difficult societal conversations in a way that's like age appropriate and accessible to kids. So I'm excited to see what they do this time around. This one's a blast from the past. So we're getting a Freaky Friday 2.
yes.
Pam, was your inner 2000s teenager kind of like bubbling at the possibilities here? Because the first one was actually really good.
The
I feel
first
like
one
it's
was great.
yeah, I feel like it's underrated. to be
It
honest.
is. And I think I might rewatch it again this weekend just because it's been a while and I feel like it probably is better than I remember. But yeah, like I was really into this movie when it came out. I had the soundtrack. We definitely owned it on DVD. So this was definitely like, a movie that we enjoyed. And I just love knowing that the cast like likes each other enough to want to come back.
I know. I know. And like what a great moment for Lindsay Lohan too. I feel like she's having a really great comeback tour.
The Lohanessence.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my god, yes. I haven't heard it put that way, but I'm guessing that that's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm happy for her, genuinely, truly. And
Mhm.
she seems to be having fun and picking and choosing the projects she wants to do. So I think that's great.
Agreed. We're also getting a live action Lilo and Stitch in the summer of 2025.
I'm
I
mad
don't
about
know.
how cute the CGI Stitch looks
Yeah,
because he looks really cute and cuddly, but like, we don't need this. This
I
is
know.
a really dumb idea.
Yeah, like again, I don't understand the strategy of what they're choosing to make live action versus what they're not making live action, the order they're going into. Um
I know. And also because like, I mean, I guess technically it has been like probably 20 years since the animated Stitch, but it doesn't feel that way. And so I think maybe that's why it feels like we don't need it. Like maybe if they picked something from like the 60s or the 40s,
yeah, I
it
mean
would be
honestly, I'm
better.
kind of a hater for these live action reimaginings
Hmm.
because for the most part I haven't really enjoyed them very much, and
Yeah.
I know that's not a popular opinion. I know a lot of people have liked them a lot, and that's great. I think just some of these, it's like really, it's tough for me to like, kind of takes me out of it, I guess, to see um, like Disney sing alongs reimagined as live action
Hmm.
films. Like, even seeing the trailer for Snow White, for example, it was just like really hard for me to be excited for it. Not because it looked bad, but because watching Rachel Ziegler like prance around a room singing with the dwarves, it just felt very cartoony to me. And I was like, we already have this.
Yeah, yeah. I think like maybe it is kind of like the artistic vision and the fact that they're trying so hard to stick to the source material in that regard for it that like maybe that's what makes it feel hokey. And like the prancing around, I don't think it would bother me if like the rest of it looked good. But I'm also like a big like I'm a musical theater kid. I like grew up watching musicals. There's a lot of prancing and Rodgers and Hammerstein. Like that's what was
Of
on heavy
course.
rotation when I was growing up. So yeah, like if it was just like a musical, like a live action musical, of which there are many, I don't know if I would like raise an eyebrow so much, but you're right. There is something about like the look that just it doesn't excite me. And, Rachel Ziegler can sing, obviously. So I will be excited, I guess, to hear what she does with some of these songs. At the same time, Snow White is not my favorite Disney movie, nor is she my favorite princess. So I think that that,
Right.
that kind of feeds into it a lot.
Maybe
Like
that
if you're
is it.
excited, yeah.
Because,
But
yeah,
like,
she
who
was
was your
never.
favorite? Oh no, you were a Jasmine girl, right? Did
No,
we
I
talk
was a
about
Belle
this?
girl.
Oh, you were a Belle girl. See, and that unfortunately, that was not a great live action.
No, it was not. It was not. I
Yeah.
was so disappointed.
Yeah, that's tough because they only get one shot. They're not going to like remake the Beauty and the Beast live action.
No, no. And I mean, to be
But
honest, the Aladdin live action was also not good, in my opinion.
hmm
So maybe I'm just not the right audience for these live action remakes, and
yeah,
that's
you know what?
fine.
Strangely, I'm realizing that the two that I actually think that I can remember being good, in my opinion, are both like animal live actions, which should be the opposite. But like we already talked about how genuinely the Jungle Book was good. I actually think that genuinely the live action Lady and the Tramp was also very good.
Yeah.
I watched that with my nephews and nieces, or like my not my nephews and
Oh,
nieces, my little
cute.
cousins, and I was like, oh man, I'm kind of mad that this is good because I wanted it to be bad. It should have been bad, but
Hey, it's nice when they actually like strike a chord.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall these live actions are hit and miss, and then also I think that we all just have such good memories of watching the originals that it's really hard for like you could have the best cast in the world see The Lion King and it could still fall flat.
Yeah. 100%. Well, looking to Pixar, there's some exciting stuff coming out of Pixar. We're getting Toy Story 5 in summer of 2026.
Man,
How you feeling about that? Because I know like we are the Toy Story
we
generation,
are.
and
I
I
just
feel like
feel
I'm always going to
like
be there for Toy Story.
yeah, that's the whole thing. Like I'll go watch it, but like begrudgingly because I just really feel like for our generation, Toy Story 3 was really like the satisfying conclusion that we needed. Because we're Andy kids, right? We're not Bonnie
Yeah.
kids. And but I can respect how like this the subsequent Toy Stories are there for the new generation, you know. And I do think it's
Yeah.
cute that they're like honing in on like Bonnie being an iPad kid, basically.
Yeah.
That's like a very real thing to like today and age. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Like that
maybe
visual of the toys looking at a child sitting under their blanket, staring at their
yeah.
iPad, like super relevant for sure.
Yeah, but the Toy Story like franchise, I almost kind of I'm not really sure what their plan is for that. Or if they're being given like direction. It almost kind of feels to me like they keep telling them this is gonna be the last movie, and then they go, just kidding, we're gonna green light a fourth. Because I think even when you think about the fourth Toy Story, they completely wrapped up Woody's story arc and he like left to join
Hmm.
the circus, but lo and behold, now he's back in Bonnie's room. So what the hell happened, Disney?
He can't
You
stay
know?
away.
Yeah, it's just
He's
like
like,
I
I
just feel
wish I
like they
could quit
keep
you.
trying to end it. Yeah. And then they keep coming back for more. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think as long as there's money in it,
That's true. And there will
well,
always be money.
that's the
Because you're
thing.
right. Yeah, Toy Story is so nostalgic. And like new kids love it too. Like the littles of today love it too. So
Yeah, man, that's always like kind of a mind fuck when you look at kids getting into these franchises today. When we very well remember when those franchises like launched, and really when it launched Pixar, you know. So
yeah,
yeah, we're also getting Incredibles 3, which I'm really excited about.
me
I kind
too.
of hope that this is the last one. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like it would be really satisfying if they were able to wrap this story up with a third movie and not like continually try to milk the cash cow on this, because Incredibles has been such a solid story all the way through,
Yeah.
and I just really feel like they could tie a nice bow on it with 3. So here's hoping that in 2 years we're not sitting here talking about Incredibles 4 coming out.
Agreed.
We're also getting Pixar's first ever TV series on Disney Plus, Win or Lose, which is taking place in the Inside Out universe between movies 1 and 2. So I know Andrew's going to be looking forward to that because Inside Out is like his big Pixar love of the moment. So I'll definitely check this out when it comes. I feel like Disney basically cemented in recent days with me that I can't cancel Disney Plus because there's so much stuff coming to it that I know I'm going to want to watch for the show.
At least for now, for the next like
Yeah.
2 years, and then we'll have to reconvene.
Yeah, we'll see. I feel like every time we talk about like which streaming service are you canceling, Disney Plus is like always on the chopping block for me, pretty much because Marvel has been doing so bad these last couple of years, but they're starting to win me back. So we'll see. We're also getting 3 new Pixar originals, which I'm excited about. Monster Jam, Elio, and Hoppers. We don't have like firm release dates for any of these, but I'm just excited that Pixar is still investing in new ideas and not just banking on sequels.
Yeah, and I think that that's the trade-off here. I think that the reason why I'm a little bit more forgiving about Pixar greenlighting sequels or threequels or more is because I know that for every sequel that is an automatic cash cow, they have now funding for something that's completely unique. So it's a trade-off I'm happy to make as a consumer and as a watcher, a moviegoer, if you will.
Yeah. And just briefly touching on a couple more things to bring us home. Of course, we can't omit Star Wars from this discussion. So we're getting The Mandalorian and Grogu feature film sometime summer of 2026. Andor season 2 has been confirmed. And we heard about this new show, Skeleton Crew, in the Star Wars universe coming this year, which is essentially about a group of orphan children just like navigating the Star
Mhm.
Wars universe that looks really interesting because it seems like it's a story that you could dive into without having any real pre-existing knowledge of Star Wars and you could still enjoy it, which to me
Yeah.
is always a mark of a good show or movie.
Hmm. They really sold it for me too when they said it was like the Goonies in space, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds delightful. Count me in. I love Star Wars. But this again, similar to Marvel, I've been experiencing a little bit of Star Wars fatigue because there's just so much Star
There's a
Wars content.
lot.
And also the way that they're kind of repositioning the world, all of it technically intertwines. And so it becomes overwhelming when you miss even one thing because Star Wars is not even just these live action TV shows anymore. It also includes the like the animated shows and stuff technically. So
Mhm.
it's really tough to pick and choose. And yeah, I definitely like, but I've heard good things about quite a few of like the latest shows that Disney Plus has done as far as Star Wars goes. I did watch Obi-Wan. I really loved that. But again,
Okay,
that's tied
good.
into the original trilogy. So or like the original core series. So that was like right up my street. But yeah, Skeleton Crew is probably like the Star Wars show that I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way. I need to actually get into Andor because I haven't watched season 1 yet, but I loved Rogue One and
Me
I've heard
too.
so many good things about Andor season 1. So knowing that we're getting a season 2 is really exciting,
Yeah.
because I know that I'll have something to look forward to and it won't be like me starting a show that's inevitably going to get canceled. That's the other thing
Yeah.
that feels like the challenge with streaming right now is like, if I get into this show, is it going to get canceled?
Yeah. And I also just like I just love Diego Luna and he
Me
loves Star Wars
too.
so much. Like anytime he talks about growing up a Star Wars fan, I just like cry a little bit cuz he like is just so happy to be there and you can tell that he really loves this role and it just makes me so happy for him. So,
Agreed. And then we also got some Percy Jackson news, right?
yeah, yeah, they didn't really show too much new footage because they're in the early stages of production on season 2, but I wanted to put this in there because I know we have a lot of Percy Jackson fans. I loved season 1. I don't know if you were tuning in,
I
but
haven't seen it yet.
it's so good. You're a Greek mythology fan,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I really think that you'll love this. It's so well done. I've been slowly making my way through the books and they're really fun too. Because this is just I think we've talked about this before, maybe on Millennial. Like we're, I think we were so wrapped up in Harry Potter that we kind of missed the Percy Jackson boat, but they were kind of neck and neck for a while there. They were having their
Yeah.
moments at the same time. It's just that we were on a completely different ship. So, yeah, season 2 looks really good so far. It's based on the second book. So again, like it seems like they're really kind of taking their time with the story, probably a testament to the fact that Rick Riordan, the author, is super involved with the screenplays and such. But yeah, it should be a really fun second season. And the first was really well done. Even the changes that they made, you can tell that they were made with the like the story in mind and how to translate that onto the big screen, because a lot of times things on the page just don't work for the screen.
Yeah.
So I think they'll do a really good job with adapting Sea of Monsters, which is up next.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to be up to speed on that because I have a feeling that we're probably going to be covering Percy Jackson season 2 here on the show.
I think
Just
so.
because I know we already have some fans on the panel. I know some of us want to become fans, and we want to make it easy for all of y'all at home to become fans with us or join us on our journey if you're already there. But that is pretty much D23 in a nutshell. I know we couldn't have possibly talked about everything that happened this past weekend. So please feel free to hit us up in the comments and let us know what we missed. Also, let us know what your favorite parts of D23 were and the announcements that you're most excited about. Also, please don't forget to follow us here on YouTube, and you can find all of our various water cooler installments here, as well as brand new podcast episodes of What the Hype every week. So thank you so much for tuning in with us again today. And Pam, thank you for joining me to talk about D23.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I'm glad we were able to do this, and
Me
hopefully you all
too.
enjoyed.
Well, thanks y'all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.